Hello, welcome to the latest episode of Live Drawing. I'm your old pal Ian. Sorry we had an echo there because I had a tab open. Today I'm still working on that page 48. Like I said in the description, just it's been tough to get stuff done. I've had just a lot of things going on right now. Some good, some bad. We all deal with stuff. But tonight we'll try to work through it, get through this page. It's also a page that, to me, while it works, it goes against some of my strengths. So, that's been kind of tough. It's a awkward timing joke. So, my strength is big, flowy, loopy pages. Not great with pinups. I'm good with action, good with movement, but a page like this that relies on some deadpan is definitely a challenge for me. Right now I'm just cleaning up this top panel because I mostly inked it on my lunch break. And you can see I inked it a little bit lighter than I usually do. That's something I've been doing lately that I think has added a nice dynamic to my work. It doesn't change anything structurally. So if someone picked up a page of mine from 3 weeks ago and one today, they might just see that there's a little extra bounce in the line and wouldn't really notice any structural differences. I'm still using the same constructive lines, but you'll see I've left some open spacing and things like that. These last 10 pages are going to be tough ones. The last 4 are real tough. There's only one easy one, I think, out of the last 10. I do. I think there's only one easy page. Even the last page is it's a tough one. So it's but we made it through this panel. You can see we've got some of our spongemen standing on the bottom holding their breath. And then Undersea Hero just kind of waves at him. And then the fight ensues. And Undersea Hero asks for help. Krakus is like, I don't help humans. And Undersea Hero asks, what about friends? And then the melee continues. So, but we've really got to do most of this panel and basically this whole panel, which is kind of the payoff where Krakus attacks this sponge bin. And there's a lot of motion, a lot of left to right motion on the last panel. And then there's the comedic pile-on going on in the back with Undersea Hero kind of triumphing. Since this is kind of half done and this is at the beginning, I'm going to focus on the lower panel this evening and see if that helps us get through it, One thing I did differently with this book is I've skipped very few pages. I skipped 2 intentional spreads, and those are 4 of the last 10 pages. And I really did that so that there was a cohesiveness. But other than that, it's been very linear going through the book. I know that that's not always recommended by pros. But for me, if I just draw all of the fun pages, it's going to be tough for me to force myself to go back. So I kind of have to give myself cookies as I go. Like, oh, the next page you get to work on is this one or that one. And that helps me get through this. At least it has helped me work through this as the longest project I've ever fully illustrated, like a comic book. So I'm going to work on this lower panel here. When we've started it out, I've changed my structure's better today than when I was working on this. So I'm going to see if I can get this arm to be a little bit more dynamic, put a little bit more bounce to it. When I refer to bounce, what I mean is that there's just uh, a more naturalistic feel, and like the joints have enough play to them. They're not as wrenched in. Um, when I think about great artists of examples of that, John Buscema comes to mind because he was always willing to flex and bend the rules to get a more dynamic look to it. And it's just knowing how big the spaces are between the joints. And it's so important to know, and it's tough. That's one of those tough things because it's easy to learn, simple blocks and how they fit together. But when you start bending those and showing the dynamic movements of them, it gets harder. That's something that I work really hard at to try to be better at. And some of this is going to be covered up by Krakus's arm, so we don't have to go too in depth there. This arm just seems like it's too far. This shoulder is all wrong. This elbow is wrong. And I'm kind of talking myself through it. I can look up on the screen and see where it should be. Like this elbow has to come back over here. It's too far down that way. If it's coming towards, it's foreshortening, so the arm will be shorter, and there's going to be some overlap with some of the. And I got to think about the whole thing, not just the single shot or the single muscle or the single whatever. I expect tonight to be a nice, chill, light evening. And this panel actually has no border and no background. So all we have to do is fill into there because I wanted it to be the paper behind it. And then maybe like one color splash or just a hit behind it, spotlighting it. It was one of those two things. I don't know why. But hey. I have to lose some of the shape underneath. Actually gonna hide the overlay for now. That way you can see the prelim while we're working on it. Hopefully it's helpful. Sometimes I put the overlay on that thing when people are asking questions and I'm just forgetting to answer them, so helps keep me on track. One thing I do wish during these streams is I wish I could listen to music somehow, but the microphone picks up all, the microphone sees all, hears all. I don't know, just been dealing with the usual winter blues lately, I think, on top of just the regular dose of artistic existential dread. I did speak with someone about doing another convention this year, so I might be signed up for a second one. Um, it's another small show, local. I have confirmation. I'll let it be known, but I will be at the Little Giant show up in Concord, New Hampshire, in the springtime. And it is, and I say this all the time, that's one of those shows that I would go to just to shop at, even if I wasn't setting up, just because they have fantastic vendors. They always have stuff I've never seen before. They got art vendors, artists. It's one of those shows that I'm grateful that they support me, and I really like doing it. So I have not figured out what I'm doing this year as far as my main show stuff. I mean, it's really just backed up until I get Undersea Hero done. I did quite enjoy. There was a show I did this past year that was just a little one locally where I didn't sell anything. I just collected for a food bank and did sketches. I didn't sell any books, and that was just nice. It was relaxing. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoyed not hustling to sell books. I don't know. This is a very perpendicular bit. I might bend the figure back just a little bit so that we have just a little bit more of a dynamic shot. And I know why I did it that way, but I do think that that can be improved upon. It's one of those things where I'm rushing to do. When I was first doing these prelims, I was just rushing to do sometimes a couple a day. Oops. Bump the camera. Figures, right? I've been reading quite a bit of early early and late Joe Kubert lately. I don't know if anybody's ever picked these up. This was a mini series, and it was the last thing Joe ever did for DC. He actually died while he was working on it, but he finished the first 4 or 5 issues, and he revisits a lot of characters that he was associated with, and he also comes up with new material. And I just love this format. And he does the main feature in each of them. Just a beautiful Hawkman story. And then there's an Angel and the Ape story. And then he does this story called Spit about whaling days that he does in just pencil. So, like a totally different medium. He has his thoughts and stuff. And then he has some short stories by Sam Glanzman, who was his friend and did a lot of war comics. And I love this format. And I could very easily see myself doing something similar to this after Undersea Hero that just has different takes, different mediums, different ways to do stuff. And, like many people, I adore the work of Joe Kubert. And I actually am I think I'm in the minority for enjoying his non superhero work. Like, I enjoyed Tex, I enjoyed a lot of the stuff that he did after he essentially just like became more or less a professor, because he was the founder, obviously, of the Joe Kubert School of Cartooning Art. There's just so many figures on this page, man. It's daunting. Maybe that's why I've been struggling with it. I know people like the busy pages, but yeah, it's just a lot. That's right. That was actually the one good thing that I had planned here. Hopefully I left myself enough room. Sometimes when I'm struggling, back in the day when I had access to um, a large format printer, I would print out my thumbnail and then lightbox it to just get my feet moving and get something on the board. It was definitely less daunting. Didn't always produce the best results, but it's something I worked with. I tell you, lately the day's just been melting off the clock. Just no time. When Krakus goes into like full madness mode, he gets like swirly eyes. So I don't know if I have it here. I did finish this over the weekend. Sometimes when I'm struggling, I have to draw something else and then come back. And this was just a blank that I got for, I think, $1 at a comic store recently. And it was just sitting there, and I just grabbed it and just started noodling on it, and I was able to get through it. There's some stuff on it I like. There's some stuff I don't. Hey, Martha's. I'm just trying to get through the week. How you doing? But yeah, this was what I did to try to get my feet moving as I was struggling with this page. It's weird. Sometimes just finishing something new just gets I guess it gets a flow going, gets the brain moving in the right direction. Reminds me that I can still kind of draw. Worse than last week. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad you stopped by. So it's a tough time of year. So I definitely did not have an easy week. So work has been difficult, and um, yeah, definitely have the winter blues from the weather and stuff too. So it's not helpful. You working on anything tonight? Doing some artwork? I don't know if you're a baseball fan, but they started spring training. Pitchers and catchers showed up to start getting ready for the season. Painted some robots. Nice. Nice. His hand is not in the right place. Could be here. Hey, Michael. Hey, Eric. How's it going? Yeah, baseball getting geared up. Michael DeFonte. Sorry to hear you're sick. Been struggling with my art the last probably 4 days. I would say it's been a struggle for me. It's one of those periods where I look at it and it just didn't look right, and I was doubting like every line even before I put it down. It was definitely defeating myself before even giving myself a chance on anything drawing wise. But like I said, that's why I tried to do that. Martha says, not much of a sports fan, but it would be a challenge to draw pictures. I'll put the overlay on since the chat's picking up. Full screen. There we go. Yeah, I dig robots, so if you want to send me some robots to see, I'm happy to see robots. I don't know why the chat's not keeping up. Yeah, I'm not sure why. Try rebooting it, basically. No, it's not catching up for some reason. Oh well. We tried. We tried. As Lisa Simpson would say. Sometimes it feels like the pencil's just kind of mushing along on its own. Just out of instinct, I don't know. I'm not knowing what else to do. I don't know what Ultra Kill is. The Spongeman is in like decidedly better shape than some of the other Spongemen we've drawn. This guy gets to the gym a little more, I guess. Yeah, like I said, I've been reading a lot of Joe Kubert lately. Just old stuff. Reading some Golden Age comics. Um, Mostly old foundational like superhero material for that stuff, but um, it's interesting reading the really old stuff. While it's primitive, a lot of the basic premises for modern comics are all there. Martha says, I think it started as an indie video game. Yeah, I don't know Ultra Kill, and I don't, unfortunately, I haven't played any new video games in many years. I was big into gaming when I was in like high school and college, and I actually in college I had my PlayStation 2 stolen and after that, I just never, and the entire collection of games, and I just never replenished except for an NES, which I got like super cheap and I got to use. People want to see your thumbnail, not our comments anyway. I just like it so that people can follow along. Sometimes I miss reading a question before answering it. It makes it so people can understand it better. That's all. Trying to be a good host here. I actually need to exaggerate this a little bit. Let's see what we can do with this. I'm gonna pull this until my pencils are a little too stiff. This part comes down like this. I'm gonna pull my. Think about the whole thing. It's kind of been my mantra, my thought exercise, my I don't know what else you'd call it. Actually, I haven't been to the comic shop in a little while. I don't know if anybody's been there and picked up anything good lately. Most of my stuff has been from cleaning my collection up in my office. It's like, oh, I'll read this again. Book from 20 years ago. Rereads are interesting. I don't know. I've reread a number of books at this point. I don't know if people have this experience, but I definitely see the work differently as I get older. See, I think his arm's supposed to be going back. He's just punched a guy, so we've got to pull it up a little bit more. And then have it going back like this. And again, these are like tiny little figures on the page. It's one of those things where I don't know how long people are going to be looking at this, but like there has to be believable chaos and enough stuff going on for it to, maintain the overall um, internal logic. Oddly enough, I wanted to do some painting lately. I just don't have any time. I was looking at the beautiful work of Dan Brereton actually in a reprint of Thrill Killer, which is a great book. If people haven't read that, I highly recommend it. It's written by Howard Chaykin. It's like an Elseworld story of Batman and Batgirl and that whole universe. So, and it's fully painted by Dan. It's just and I think that his collaboration with Howard Chaykin, I think elevates the talent he works with, and as a writer, because he's such a visual artist himself and creator, that I think that the work is just exceptional. I think it's probably my favorite work of Dan's sequential work. Like he's done some just breathtaking covers and stuff. Cool. As you can see anymore, I kind of actually let the paper get beat up a little bit, like the corners get bent and things like that. Because I'm more or less just trying to keep the work going. I take it on the road with me and it gets in my bag and stuff happens. Now remember our light source is up and to the left, so it's over here. We keep a consistent light source through all the panels, so that when we fill in, because like when we spot the blacks in like his leather gloves or whatever, we want to keep the same angle at which the reflections are going. It also tells us where to weight our shadows and the underlines of things, weighted lines. There we go. Just like that. I wish I had a good shortcut that, I've got tons of artist friends. There's so many people that have really good shorthand for like background figures. Um, Jim Chung is one of those guys who has like, if you look at the background figures in his, like, if you just look at them real close, pretty much just like little smiley faces on like the what do you call it, the dummy, the artist model dummy in the backgrounds, but it works perfectly. So I'm just foreshortening that one, and that arm goes away from the viewer, just like that. I sent it to the Fat Cat address and it's blocked. I don't think that my email is blocked. I don't know if I have my phone on me. Hmm. Yeah, I don't see an email from you, but I see an email from my mom. Oh, well, not good TV. Me checking my email. I did forget his snorkel. Yeah, sorry, I checked my email. I don't know why it didn't go through. I've got one character that is literally right here, so I guess all that work to fix that joint was for naught. See, that's what I'm talking about. When these figures get overlaid like this, I just get, my brain just shuts down and does not want to do this. Like, wouldn't you rather just go read? Yeah, it's much easier to read comics than it is to make comics. I'll have to check to see if the next page would help motivate me to, get through this thing. Like I said earlier, that's kind of how I get through stuff. Is I'll have a page that I really want to work on it, then I'll have a page that I don't, but I don't just jump to the ones I want to work on. Come on. I also know that I'm just pressing down on the pencil too hard when it keeps breaking like that. It's probably a night I probably should have just sat at my desk and just worked instead of streaming work. Hey Raymond, how you doing? Yeah, we're still working on this page here. It's one of those pages where I wish I had some of those magical shortcuts. I could use some magical shortcuts for just cutting through all this, or having a good abbreviated background formula. But I don't. I have to construct everything like one shape at a time, which is why it takes me forever to finish this thing. Yeah, not all pages are equal, so this one's not as fun as some of the other pages, but I gotta put the work in. So it's too long. Proportions are messed up. There we go. Arms going the right way. Pull that down. Wait on this. I don't know how to unblock your address. I'm sorry. I haven't blocked anything. It's just a regular, Yahoo account or whatever. I don't know if it's too big of an attachment. I don't know. I do not know. Got a handful of people in here, so thanks for folks for popping in tonight. Not as bouncy, just not sure why. Had a nice dinner. Try to get at least all the figures in here. I also get frustrated drawing just tiny figures. I much prefer, a good. This part I'm okay with. Here, this is about the size I enjoy drawing the most. But then when you get into all those background figures, to me, it loses some of its structure and it gets just impossible. Ray says, I like watching friends draw. Thanks, man. I do too. I'll put other people's streams on while I'm working or what at work or hanging out. I enjoy those. Because everybody draws a little bit differently. I mean, we all use the base academic principles, but everybody has their own little wrinkles and changes and things that they do, or different areas that they've studied, or different ways of approaching visual problems, of translating 3D objects into a 2D plane. Hey, Ben, how's it going? Going through lead like it's nothing. I tried to work on this on my lunch break, and I did ink some of the top panel, like I said, we got this part done. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 9 characters in the top, and then there's more here, and then there's not as many on the bottom panel, but yeah, the mid panel there is gonna take some doing to finish. Like I said last stream, I actually enjoy drawing hands, so like that part, I don't know, that challenge, I enjoy. Ben asks if I'm going to be doing any Connecticut shows this year. I'm not signed up for any right now, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. I'm really like just trying to get this book done. That's the focus. And then I know that you generally are best served by booking shows and finishing your work at the same time, but I just don't have it in me to do that much right now. So I'm not opposed to it. I will say I'm probably not actively like I said, I'm not really actively seeking it out. I did sign up for another mass show that'll be in the springtime. So I'm currently signed up for 2 shows. Martha's, I can promise you I didn't block you as far as emailing goes. Like, I haven't done anything. And I got your prior email. Let's see here. I got the raccoon sketch. There, I just sent you a reply from one of yours, and you can try replying to that. RICC maybe? Doubtful. I would say doubtful at RICC. I think I let people know pretty straightforward that I saw that there was a chance that the last time I was there would be the last time. I no longer work for the company that runs the show, and they certainly know how to contact me if they want to give me a space. But and I've said it to other creators before. It's a celebrity-centric show, and I generally don't draw celebrity-centric stuff. So unless they want to give me a space, I don't know if it's financially a good business decision for me. Before I actually started working for the company that runs those shows, I only did a few shows a year. Like that was generally what I did. I would pick one big one, and then I would do a handful of small shows, and that's kind of how I like doing it. I plan on putting more stuff out on my website and doing stuff digitally. I'll keep making print comics. They would just be limited runs, stuff like that, and yeah, and if variants or other gigs present themselves after this book, I'll take those on as they come. I was never one to do conventions just to be at conventions. was generally with a purpose. I actually might do. I might reach out to the old. There was a show that used to be in Attleboro, that's now in, I believe, Franklin, still run by the same guy. I have considered reaching out to him to go hang out at his show. It's again small, 1 day weekend show. It's a kind of, you know, anything over 1 day is uh, sometimes tough for me. Unless it's a big show where you're gonna do, gangbusters. Your Baltimores, your Heroes, your New Yorks, your San Diegos, stuff like that. And there's fewer of those around that are geared for comic creators more. They're more geared towards, big autograph collectors, stuff like that. I'm not sure what's going on, Martha. Did you get my email back? I sent the reply. Yeah. Up there, I see one of the robots. Very nice. Yeah, I see the robots. He came through. Very cool. I like that first one with the red eye. Yeah, that one's cool. I dig that. Robots can be, if you like drawing the mechanical stuff, they can be very, very satisfying to draw. I like drawing robots when they almost have like an organic feel to them, where they're like not. You can have like battle damage. You can do all kinds of stuff with them. Let's see if we can remember our light source. What I want on this figure, and the reason why it's here, is if I can have enough darkness behind it, he's basically going to be like, it's going to look like he's leaping out. And when I color this, I can take just a little scratch, like coming up like this, so it gives more of a, like he's leaping at him. It's one of those old techniques that I like to use on paper. It's a razor blade technique that after you put the black ink in, you scrape it across, and it creates little lines, little grooves in the paper. It's a fun technique. I also have been using I hadn't had one of these in ages. My coworker gave it to me. These China markers. They're kind of a waxy, charcoal-esque thing. And Terry Austin, an inker that well known, used to use them for like background smoke. You fill it out like this. And there'd be like fire under it. Also, like these were used in a lot of magazines, for black and white artwork to get like a secondary tone. And asked if I enjoyed doing the Power Ranger variant for 2015, 2017. The Go-Go Power Rangers #1 variant. Yeah, I would say it was pretty good. That was the first work I did for Boom Studios. That year I went to San Diego and I talked to the folks that run that operation. I got to get to know them a little bit. I went to their big soiree. after talking to them at the booth. Alex, the editor, was a nice fellow. Power Rangers was not on my giant list of things, that I really wanted to do in comics, but it was all right, just because I wasn't as into the show as some of like my classmates and stuff were. Hey, I know it was super popular, you know. I do a fair amount of drawing in the inking stage, so right now I'm really just, making those notes for when I get the pen out. I saw the robots, yeah. Yeah, the one with the red eye looked cool. I dug that one. It's got kind of like the long neck. It's an interesting take. Light source. Sometimes even just by pointing at it, it helps me concentrate. Because what it'll be with that light source is that on this figure, right about here will be the most light, and then as you go out from it, there's less light, so you show more shadow. You do that. Uh, when you're thinking about the sphere, the classic how to uh, shade a sphere. Do I have that thing on here? Here, use this thing. Here's light sources coming down this way. Brightest part's going to be here. And then the darkest parts are going to be the furthest away from that light source. And then your midtones would be in the middle. So that's one of those that, when you're first learning how to draw, and you think about how a sphere applies to the rest of it, is thinking about all those little shapes and thinking about each shape and on how the light affects it. And that's why it takes me forever to draw a figure, because I'm thinking about how the light bends around it. If there's a second light source, what the double lighting looks like. One of your characters reminds me of Zoidberg from Futurama. I mean, this is a. Thank you. I mean, Futurama was a good show, but yeah, he is really just a cuttlefish. I forgot to draw his giant gold necklace in this panel, so we have to draw his necklace. Because this is after he was at the Undersea Casino, so he's got a giant gold necklace. And as I get away from the light source, these gold spheres are more shaded. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure why I did that, but I got the robots, so I got to see those. Thanks for sending those. And I'll clean up all of this pencil, all these random extra pencil marks, the construction lines and everything when I ink it and then erase those pieces. That gives you kind of a breakdown as to how the shading, it's not even shading, it's spotting of shadows works. It's always being aware of the shape, the material, what you're coloring or your drawing is, and the light source, and on how light reacts with those things, and how far away from the light source it is, and everything else. Um, the fun thing about Undersea Hero though is that it's a forgiving universe as far as the art goes, and if you lean into the exaggeration, it usually works a little bit better. So it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be super illustrative. It's definitely cartooning more than illustrating. He wears very tight shorts. Yes. MPA Asian artist. I wish I have that experience. What do you mean by that? What experience? Hey, thanks, Martha. Hope stuff gets better for you this week, and it was good to hear from you. And thanks for sharing those robots. I enjoyed looking at those. Yeah, comic experience. Do you mean like just drawing comics, or what? Like, I don't know what you mean by that. Oh, you have trouble making. That's right. You're a portrait artist, so making a cartoon comic is laborious if it's done like portrait style. Oh, we were talking about it last show of doing a public domain superhero anthology if the folks that hang out on the stream my buddies want to do that, we can, after Undersea Hero, uh, do an anthology together. And I'd be happy to help people with their work. It wouldn't be, it would be a just for fun gig. It's not a paid gig. I'm not going to make any money off of it. We'll just post it for free and put it out there if people want to print copies on their own. Old school. That's how I got my start, was doing anthology stuff with friends at local comic store, printed their own anthology, and just sold it to their customers. It had a reach of about 50 copies. Michael's dropping off for the night. Hey, I hope things get better for you and you feel better, man. MPA says shapes is hard to draw. I would agree with that. Yeah. So you have a store for your comic. For this one was done through Kickstarter, so these will all be mailed out. Um, there were a couple of stores. There was a retailer tier on it, so there were a couple of stores. Rubber Chicken Comics, which is one of the best stores in my state, um, bought the retailer tier. And traditionally in the past, when I've offered stuff to stores, they've carried it because obviously I've worked on other books and stuff, but it requires a whole nother layer of business and follow-ups and managing of inventory. So like when you're doing the comic and you're publishing it yourself, at that point you're like basically the Pepsi guy at the grocery store, having to restock your own shelves. And it's just a crap ton of work to do on your own. Light source, from here it comes down this way, so if we're filling in where that light is, it's going to be most of his back in shadow because he's pretty far away from the light source. So there we go. I think everyone who likes to draw or paint, and likes comics should try to make a comic. And if you don't want to draw it, you can always do a collage, you can do a zine, you can do all kinds of things. There's a million ways to make comics. You can do it with photographs. Now, I'm not an advocate for any sort of generative AI or anything like that, so I would ask you not to do it that way, because those things have been trained on our work. So I'm not a fan. Hey, good talking to you. Thanks for popping in, MPA. It's all right. I'm gonna be calling it quits soon too. I'm gonna finish this figure and then I think we'll call it a night. Although I will say you guys have really helped me actually get through this thing. So thank you very much. I was definitely really having a hard time just getting through the shapes and thinking I could draw the shapes. It's a mental struggle sometimes. Struggle of confidence sometimes. His head is like snapped back. So you see like the underside of his jaw, where his neck is, and then there's like he's tilted back, and you can see the back of his mask comes back like this. It's an awkward angle, but you can see under his nose. I will say I definitely enjoy the new folks that have been coming over from YouTube. Everybody's been very cool. Seeing talented artists showing off their stuff. I dig it. It's interesting to see which platform people use and the different folks that come from different places. It's one of the interesting things about having done this stream stuff. And I'll really actually be able to basically just start inking this panel because there's, when I cut this off here, and these here, and then this guy will come just a little bit forward just to show a little bit of depth of motion. Right there, right there. And when you break, you have the line breaks away from each other, it just gives you a little bit more depth. So, well, we've been at it for an hour. You know, I've still got to tackle that middle panel, but we got through the main melee penciling over on the left there, and we finished Lord Krakus. So we did some okay stuff. We got through some stuff I was struggling with. So there's actually going to be a shadow. Let me just finish this because there's going to be a big shadow here, there, and then there's going to be some here because that's going to be dark. I actually think this whole thing here is going to be darked in too. There we go. It takes its full form when you get those shadows wrapped around it. That's always good to look at. Well, I hope everybody has a good night. I wish you all have a good weekend. It sounds like people are dealing with some illness, so rest up, feel better, drink lots of fluids, and I hope to see you next week. Good night, everybody.